Okay, guys, I want to apologize. That was all my fault. We'll have to wait for Av and Leighton. Andy and I are doing a show on Wednesdays, and I actually put us in the back end of that one instead of the Soil Matters podcast. So, sorry, guys.
I'm glad you got the song that I sent you.
Yes, we got the song, and that's going to be fantastic. And there's Mr. Morrison. Leighton, take it away, brother. Yeah, that was all my fault.
Are you going to reintroduce us, or are we just going to go for it?
We're just going to go for it. I already actually ran the intro while you guys weren't back on yet. So
don't delete my porn. Oh, sorry.
It's all good to go.
Awesome. All right. Well, so you were on a helicopter landing ship. Landing platform. So what was the mission of the helicopters? Was it search and rescue? Was it
the main thing I remember doing was the Apollo shot. That's when I went on to the that's the only reason why they had me on. It was because I was a very good photographer, and so I had top secret clearance, and that particular ship was the one that was going to be recovering that particular space mission.
Got you.
I tell you one thing really funny. So we're on a ship. We're all looking with binoculars, looking this way, right? And so I didn't have binoculars. I turn around in the back. And the parachute is coming down. I said, "Excuse me, guys. It's there. It's over there." Oh, there it is. And so, and as a photographer, I would go into the water as soon as the pot hits the water, and I would actually, when they open the top, I actually go in there with them, take pictures, and be with them all the way through the process. Because then I would also have to go into quarantine with them because they have a big dome in the back of the ship. You have to go into the quarantine. You have to be there for a day. Well, I was in there with them. They wanted me to be there first. They're taking pictures and the whole thing. And I told you what's the first thing that they asked for.
No.
Yeah, Andy, give me a joint. We were smoking a joint in the quarantine area.
You were smoking it up with the fucking astronauts?
One of them. Yeah, I think it was Michael White.
Oh, that is too funny. Who fucking knew that?
And he was all he could talk about was this big. Did you get a picture of the big giant spaceship? Because it was the big spaceship, a mothership that these guys took pictures of, or rather, they said we took a picture of this area of space. There's stars everywhere except there's one space right in there, no single stars. And all of it became these little tiny. They thought it was tiny, but as they got closer to their ship, it was big round glowing balls that they got videos of the whole thing. And remember, I don't know if I told you, but there's a 5 or 6 second delay. None of that was made public.
The delay or the globes?
The globes. Anything that they said, they took it out. You know when the first step for man thing, right?
Yep.
Well, a lot of people say it didn't happen because the flag is waving. Right?
Yep.
The reason why the flag is waving was because there was a 3 second delay, maybe even a minute or two, a few minutes delay. They took that out and they put something already they already done in the studio. They figured something's going to happen. We're going to just show this one. We're not going to show that. That's why they were showing the flag waving. It was pre-done so that they can put something in there in case, because they knew something was up. That's why why we went to the Sea of Tranquility? I told you that. Didn't I say that before?
No, tell me.
Okay, so the Sea of Tranquility. So the Russians thought the Americans were there, and the Americans thought the Russians were. Neither was happening. So what happened was that there was a big giant storm or something, and removed all these layers, like 20 feet of this fine dust, and uncovered all these buildings.
Really?
Yeah. And did you know that the Russians sent 3 of their ships, and the 3 of them died? They all went there and got died because everything. They don't have any backup systems. The Americans have a backup to a backup. Russians do not have any backup. So when the system is down, they're dead.
Wow, I did not know.
That's why we haven't gone back. Why do you think we haven't gone back yet?
That is $1 million question. I have no idea.
The whole place is full of aliens, ships and buildings and structures. You should see this thing on. I saw recently, not too long ago. This guy processed the film. The other thing is that when I was processing, it was done in color. They said, no, you have to do it in black and white, and then we can take out a bunch of stuff that we don't want people to see. So this guy processed the film in color, and you can actually see it, the ships, the buildings, the domes, the structures, everything.
Now, there is a lot of conspiracy about that we never went there, and that there's pictures of bubbles from the underwater tanks where they filmed it. And
I was there. Either they faked the pod coming down, or they faked the video. No, I was there.
That's why I'm asking you, dude. I think this is an unintended area that we are ended up in, but this is really interesting. So
what happened was that there's a whole bunch of alien stuff going on up there. You know, we have a mission that we just sent not too long ago. We have this ship that we sent out. It circled the moon, and it's top secret. Nobody's supposed to know that we sent a ship to circle the moon, and they did something up there they don't want to tell us about.
Well, I know the Chinese went to the dark side of the moon, correct?
Yeah, that's why they're going to the dark side of it, because it's just happening on the dark side of the moon that we are not supposed to be able to see.
Well, we can't because it doesn't rotate.
Right, exactly right. But that's why the aliens are there, if you consider them aliens. It's hard to say what they are really, because there's a ship called the Dark Knight, and I heard about it when I was in the Navy. It's called the Dark Knight. You know about it, right? He knows about it. He's going like this. He knows about it.
Oh yeah, I've been down this rabbit hole, and yeah, Andy, this stuff is the stuff we're going to talk about on our show, because yeah, I've been down this rabbit hole.
And the Dark Knight has been circling the Earth for 10 or 20,000 years.
Is that the big, long, shafty looking thing?
No. It's a different thing. That one happens to be. You saw it, right? They have a picture of the long shafty thing. It's a weird ship or something. My opinion is that it's an alien ship. This is how they don't build ships like we do, right? You know. So that's an alien ship because it comes from another space.
Galaxy. Yeah,
another galaxy. Exactly right. But the Dark Knight's been around for 20,000 years. I was reading, and this I started reading about it in the service about the Pope. He says God is everywhere, and therefore God created everybody, everything. And we know about these early aliens, and we're communicating with them. They built a $40 million telescope to look at the skies and follow the alien, and they've known about the Dark Knight for a long time.
Interesting. All right, so reel it back in.
I'm good at reeling.
So you're in the capsule, smoking a doobie with an astronaut, and is he telling you of the experiences of the dust?
Yes, sir. Did you see anything? Did you take pictures? I was actually secretly working for Life magazine, sending them stuff.
Okay.
I could not. They caught me. They took everything.
Bad boy. Bad boy. Good for you. I'm glad you were doing that.
When I got discharged, I had these films, I had these negatives, I had everything to take with me, and they stopped me. They took everything. And then when I tried to send something out, it would go to other systems, and they would stop that too. So that I was only able to send things that was normal. The guys running around doing stuff, nothing to do with aliens, nothing to do with what was going on, because they didn't want that. And to this day, it's a really big deal, a really big deal. And they actually can't hide it anymore.
It appears that way. It appears that the internet has finally caught up with their ability to block all information.
I met this really good thing. I think it's Gear, and he does SETI, CETI.
Yep.
Right, and I met him a long time ago, and he developed a protocol for communication with aliens.
Really?
Yeah, it's really, really cool, and it does work. It does work.
Interesting.
That's another story.
Yeah, I was going to say let's not chew up all your content.
Reel it in. Come on, reel it in.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to reel you that hard, but let's bring it in so that we don't chew up all the material for you and Ken to have fun with on the next.
Okay. So what do you want to talk about?
So let's get back into your time in the service. You were obviously a cannabis consumer. You were out flying, I believe in Nam and Laos and stuff, filming.
Nam, and I was there. I flew over really fast, and I was there for a very short period of time. not long enough to even get any credit for being there. I was hardly on the ground. I was in the air most of the time. On ship, the ship went by there, and I was never there long enough to really. I was there specifically for. You won't believe this, but I was a really good photographer. So different admirals or different captains of ships said, we want you to come do a photo shoot of us, of me.
So more of documentation and not necessarily war stuff, right?
No, I was there to shoot a photo shoot of the captain.
Got you.
See, I did two kinds of photo shoots. One, according to the Navy, you have to do a certain thing. The other one, I would just break them up laughing. Are we talking? And they would break out and take pictures and show the guy was human. So that was my thing, and I was really very good at doing that. So I got to go to different places, and on top of that, the captain wanted me to do this thing with a pool table. I created a pool table that floats on the ship. So on board ship, they have a captain usually has a pool table that they play, and all the balls will roll to one side, right?
Yep.
I went and got a small pool, put it in, filled with water, put the pool table in the water so it floated. And bingo, you have yourself a pool table that all the balls didn't roll one side or the other.
So they could actually play pool on the ocean.
Exactly right, without it rolling.
Too funny.
I should have invented that, but it was this basic name for it. That's what you do in the sailors. They have a compass does that. A whole bunch of other things does. There's a name for it, gimbal or something.
Yeah.
All right. So how the heck did you end up in the jungles with the monks, and where you got that Red Dragon cannabis?
I was I was smoking pot, and I had to go get pot. They don't deliver it to the ship. You have to go up down and go get it. So over the years, no, I have a billion things of photography that I have done, but I haven't really printed anything. But I had to go out and get it. And so I went to this little into the city, and I looking for it. You got anything to smoke, man? You got it? Yeah, here. So I found this guy. He says, "You're gonna come. You're in luck. You can go with me to. I'm gonna go pick my plants." Oh God, today is his phone day. And so I ended up going with him. He showed me this tree that my dad planted. That it was 45 years old. This thing was bigger than the 2 pine trees.
And that was a cannabis plant.
And that was a cannabis plant. It was called Cambodia Red. You might recognize it. Cambodia Red. That means that if a plant is 45 years old, it doesn't die. It just keeps producing THC on top of it. It keeps layering. The branch was about that big. The buds were about that big. And they actually make tie sticks from it, because the guy would take the branches off, the buds off. They would make a thread from it and the sticks from it and sew them back on and let them dry. And I would buy a 6-pack. I traded a carton of cigarettes for my pot, which came already in little tie sticks wrapped up.
Well, now you know where I'm going with this, because when I was a kid in '82, I got to California and I got turned on to some tie stick for the first time, and it was just incredible friggin' weed. The only thing that we had that was even close to that was off called Panama Red that we could get once in a while on the East Coast.
I have Panama Red seeds, by the way.
Do you?
I have a collection of sativa seeds from around the world. I have Jamaican. I have Panama Red. I have Pakistan. I have Lamb's Breath. The problem is that they're over 20 years old now. Actually, maybe a little longer. So I'm hoping they survive. I have to figure out what to do with them. I have some really cool. So what happened with this guy? He picked the things, and he says, "Oh look, there's 2 seeds. There are 2 seeds in this giant bud thing. It had produced 2 seeds." And then he gave it to me. And I found out from him that his dad got it from this monk, and this monk is in a place called the Red Dragon Monastery. And so when I found out from the Red Dragon Monastery that a monk from the Red Dragon Monastery about 5,000 to 6,000, 7,000 years ago went to Afghanistan and got these Afghan seeds, came back, started growing them, and somehow the seed has changed into this. So it's not even I don't know if it's a sativa or if it's just changed throughout the years because it has more sativa characteristics, or maybe he got a sativa from Afghanistan. That's talking to my dog.
Oh.
And that's how that's how. And then there's two. There's a Red Dragon Monastery that there's two of them. I forget the name of the other one. One uses this for meditation. So they grow this pot, they drink tea out of it, and they smoke it, use it in meditation. The other one, I forgot the name of the monastery, but they use it for kung fu to make it so that you're stronger, you can't feel pain. And so that's I still have those seeds, and I'm thinking I'm just gonna have to let them go because they're gonna fucking die on me, right? They're gonna die. And
how have you kept them? How have you kept them?
Oh, I keep them in a cool, dry place.
Okay.
They'll last forever that way. Not exposed to the sun, not exposed to temperatures, no mold, no that stuff. I have them stored in a really, really nice. I can almost show them to you, and they're still good because I gave one away last year, and the lady gave it back to me because I can't grow it, and I started because they're very hard to start.
So there's a number of new techniques for recovering older seeds, and at some point I'll connect you to somebody who I really trust with this type of stuff, and that's Kevin Jodry. He's a institution. He's a I don't even know how to describe him. The kingpin of cannabis, for lack of better words. The work that he did over the years is just incredible, and he's done a lot of preservation, breeding with landrace seeds that have been.
He would love this stuff because
and he's the right guy to get the seeds out into the right hands to protect the genetics.
When I was living in Malibu, I lived in a condo, a three-story place. The very, very bottom underground had wires and stuff. So I dug it out, and I was growing under there. I must have at least 20 generations of this variety. And I found that, so I had one plant that would pollinate with another male, I had male pollen. So I always wanted male pollen to use. I got male pollen from the seed, and I would pollinate a plant, right? And that plant would produce like hundreds of seeds, and they're all different. Genetically, they're all different.
Yeah, we call that fetal hunting. So that's
right. So I would start like 10 of them, and they'll all be radically different. One would be like a tiny little thing. I call it black voodoo. The little thing was black, a tiny little thing. So I figured I must be pulling out these genetics from the past, right? These things are coming from the past. And I had a couple of them that are like beautiful reddish color. I don't know if you guys, I'm not sure you look through the little scope, you see the tetratomes, whatever you call them, the little bubbles. Right. The what?
Trichomes.
Right. And they change to certain colors. So I have all these different varieties of them. Sometimes I would take, I remember I took some Panama Red and blended them together, pollinated them together. I would have something there. I've also done Jamaican. I've done Maui Wai. I got lots of really nice seeds that I got from my original Maui Wai. When I bought 100 acres in Costa Rica, I would go down to Panama and I would come back with Panama Red, chunks of it, blocks, literally blocks. And then I would take them and put them in I had a van. See, I used to drive down the Pan American Highway, and man, I got busted 20 times. But they couldn't find anything, but I would take my van apart. They literally would take it apart. I'm there. I said, what are you guys doing? It's pieces everywhere. Then they would put it back. Here's a piece left over. I said, thanks a lot. So I've learned. So what I would do is I go from Mobile, Alabama to Limon. It's in Costa Rica. Bypass the whole Pan American Highway. My friend was a captain on board ship, so I did raw foods for him going across the ocean. 5 days raw foods. I dropped my van off, and I would go hang out for a while and go drive down to Kawit. That was the place I bought. It wasn't 100 acres. It was 15 acres, I think it was. And I would walk to Panama, go across the river, buy the stuff, come back, package it up, put it in my fake gas tank, get on the boat, and come back and bypass all that stuff. And I did that for years.
And you were a smuggler.
I was a smuggler, and the Panama Red just blow people away because it was oily. It was like, I remember it to this day. You can't take it apart. You would have to dry it out a little bit somehow because you have to smoke in the pipe. It was delicious. My favorite. To this day I don't do indica. I don't like indica. I don't do it. Sativa is my favorite smoke. I still smoke it to this day. I started when I was like 18. I told you what happened when I went in the service, when I tried to go in the Air Force.
No.
So I said, I'm going to go join the Air Force. I'm going to be a photographer in the Air Force. That's cool, right? So I went and took a test and everything. And it says, well, you don't pass because you have a hard murmur. And now thinking backwards, I said, give me something that says that and I'm cool, right? No, I said, I got in my car and I smoked about 10 joints. I went over to the Navy and they said, you're fine. And they took me in.
Yeah. Go figure. All right. So you bounced around a little bit. Let's go back to this Panama this tree. So this tree was 40 years old and it just constantly rebudded. Did it bud all year long or did it bud once a year?
No, I don't know if it budded. So I wasn't really paying attention to whether he was saying it was budding or not. What I got to pay attention to was that it was really old and he only picked certain ones from it that were really thick. And I don't think when he picked it, I would see no reason why it wouldn't grow again. Because what I've done myself underneath there, when it was ready, I would pick the buds halfway through and leave it with a little bit of buds, change the lights on them, and they would start growing again. Re-veg.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So
it must be that because it has the right amount of light. And it's one of the reasons why people don't grow sativa so much because it takes a lot more light and more time under grow lights to grow than as opposed to indica.
Yeah, correct. And that's why they want these fast turnarounds.
It's like 5 to 6 months as opposed to 3 to 4 months.
And a lot of times you can't even grow that in like California because of the weather. It comes in and it kills your plant. So
it has to be indoors, right.
And then in indoors you're spending all that electricity. You want a quicker harvest.
I learned about LED lights a long time ago.
Nice.
LED lights. And I actually plugged in the LED lights to my computer so you can generate the right kind of light frequencies that you want to use. I used to do black light to them. Black light.
Really?
Yeah, black light makes a big difference. I had all kinds of really cool techniques to make it produce what I want.
And what were the results that you got from the black light?
The difference in night and day, because I would get it was higher THC levels, the coloration of the what do you call them again? The little
trichomes.
Trichome was a golden color.
Okay.
It was a golden color, but I also felt that it had a combination of other things I was doing because I learned to. I never would pull the plant out of the container. I would actually let it die in the container.
Okay.
Instead of cutting it and hanging it,
I
would put it in the dark and leave it alone, let it dry out.
So you didn't cut and hang it; you just left it drying in the pot.
In the pot, you're right. And it would take a little bit longer, but it under the right conditions, it would taste a lot better than if I had cut it and dried it out. Because I would tend to do it too fast, try to pick it too soon. And a lot of times people, when I talk to them, they don't have the patience to let it go through the whole process.
Right.
They pick it too early.
Well, that gets into a whole nother ball of wax.
Yeah. I had to do it. The cops were here. The next door neighbor knew about it. All kinds of stuff other than, I did it because that was the right time.
No, more so about potency, terpene, cure time. There's a lot of different methodologies behind when to actually pick it. Like Frenchy Cannoli used to talk about that there was only a 3-day window that he could harvest in so that he would get the best trichomes for hash making. So that, again, it depends on what your end goal is as to, how long you dry, how long you cure.
When I smoked, it's that first hit. If I don't get that nice sweet flavor, I go, nope.
Yeah, you fucked it up.
Yeah, I said no. So you take that one hit, you go, oh, nice, it's like wine, right? You go, oh, this tastes really, really good. If I don't have the taste, I mean, that to me is more important than the stone.
Yeah, agreed. Well, that flavor is directly a result of the terpenes, and the terpenes are the activators, or they help activate the experience.
Right.
Again,
I learned that. I learned that the hard way. I figured if it's tasty, that's what I want.
Yeah, yeah. And there's a lot of evidence, although we haven't sussed out that relationship between high terpenes and the cannabinoids, because cannabis has been illegal for so long that the labs and the drive from the collegiate world hasn't been there to start really looking at this relationship. But a lot of the old heads will tell you, if it's a high terpene, a better taste, you're going to get a more broad spectrum high from it. It's going to be more enjoyable.
Exactly, and that's a clue for me, because whenever I go smoke with somebody, I don't taste it. I don't even want to do any more of it. It's just smoke. It doesn't do anything. But if it has, oh boy, look at this taste! It automatically gets me excited. Right? Automatically, everything starts flowing. I start dancing. I start singing. Take off my clothes. Chase after the dog. All kinds of things happen when you have that right taste. And I learned to key into that taste. If it doesn't have the taste, I'm not smoking it. I'm not touching it.
Agreed, 100%. And that's always been my bitch with synthetically grown cannabis. You just don't get those experiences, or at least I haven't. I've had people tell me that they smoked, hydroponic cannabis that did have a wonderful experience, but personally, I have not. When it burns the back of my throat, I'm done.
I'll tell you about hydroponics. So I invented this product called Super Seaweed.
Yep.
I originally invented for hydroponics. See,
and
I can grow it in hydroponic with my Super Seaweed, and the taste is there.
Really? See, so
it comes down to trace minerals, and you have to have the biology in the hydroponics.
Right, which a lot of them don't, because they're using such high salt.
That's the thing right there. That's the thing right there. It says that in hydroponic, it's totally dead, other than the chemicals they add to, the chemistry that they add to it, right?
Yep.
So I've learned that if the soil, if my stuff grows well in the soil, I'm now saying biology, because you guys have trained me to say biology, but I always say it's the microbes. The little guys in the soil also need to be in the hydroponics, and that's different, because if you don't aerate it, circulate it right, it goes bad really fast.
Yep. Yeah, and that's why they don't do it.
They don't do it. You have to learn how to circulate it, how to keep replacing it, replenishing it, and that was my specialty. I actually did that underneath there, because I started doing it hydroponically first, and then I went to soil went back and forth to see which is better. I end up with hydroponics every time, because my Super Seaweed. I don't know if I ever given you any, but that's what I use when I spray my customers' places. That's what I use on all my plants.
So tell us about the Super Seaweed. What is it?
I call it a microbiological activator.
Okay.
So my experience throughout the years is, what is it the microbes want, right? What is it that they need and the plants need? They need, first of all, a highly mineralized product. That means lots of minerals, and all not in the toxic form, but in the right trace minerals, in the right micro doses, right?
Yep.
Right. And then they also need the bacteria are very sensitive to a variety of other chemicals that cannot be used, like urea. It kills them dead.
Agreed, 100%.
Any type of high nitrogen product kills them dead. So you have to avoid. You just don't even use. You don't even use nitrogen at all in this product, because I've learned that the nitrogen comes from other sources.
Agreed, 100%. So the Super Seaweed, what is it? Is it a extract?
Okay. So let me just throw this away. Oh no, I know where it is. The other phone. So I call it Super Seaweed, but I really should stop calling it Super Seaweed, because seaweed is so toxic these days. I can hardly find anything that's pure anymore in the form of seaweed. Because I used to get about 10 different kinds of seaweed from around the world, some of it for human consumption, some of it for plants. But now I have maybe just a few products that I like that are clean, But one of the things I found out is that seaweed is mainly radioactive. It's got so much stuff in there that we really don't even want to be taken into our bodies, let alone into the soil.
No, I agree. It's a lot of heavy metals and stuff.
Right. But mainly it's made from various different sources of trace minerals, 14 different types of rock dust, 14 different kinds of sources of rock dust. And the rock dust is part of the key to everything, because the rock dust is a remineralization. I would like to get you on a friend come on and talk about remineralization. It's a big process that the earth normally does. The earth normally does remineralization, remineralizes the soil. And so I get the different types of rock dust because they all have different amounts of these minerals in it. Like arsonite, we talked about arsonite before. That's a nice blend, but by itself it doesn't have all the trace minerals that I want. So I use colloidal rock phosphate. I use soft rock phosphate. You know what soft rock phosphate is, right?
Yeah,
right.
Of course.
I get naturally mined soft rock phosphate, which is very, very important. I get agriment, which is 30% calcium. Calcium is very important.
Yep.
So I get different sources from around the world. And we talked about this, a local place in the United States. You can buy these things where they ship them and then they sell it to you in smaller amounts, And locally here in Ventura, you're lucky. This is a big farming community. So you can find lots of different sources of rock dust. So I get a bunch of different varieties. I basically put them in a vat and let the microbes at it. The microbes eat first.
Okay, so what are the microbe inoculants that you're using?
Oh, I have an enormous list. I mean, if you look under the website, I think I have a list up there as to what they are, but it's only a small part of it. I also listed them in the book. There's about 40 or 50 types of different types of mycorrhiza, bacteria, different types of enzymes that I add to it. So I have a product called nitron A35, which is an enzyme. I have a product called AgriGrow, which is another enzyme. These are different enzymes that would help to break things down. So I've learned to, when I add them to in a certain way, they go into suspended animation. Otherwise, they would just go bad real fast. You can't put them in a container. So it's the rock dust also suspends it. The microbes are in there. As soon as they get oxygen, they become activated.
So where are you sourcing these microbes from? These bacteria and stuff?
Well, I buy them from different places that I've been buying for a long time. So there's one place called Down to Earth.
Okay.
Down to Earth is a company that sells to nurseries and stuff like that. So they have tons and tons of different sources of microbes that you can get from. They sell them in small amounts or in larger amounts. So they're microbes from different companies, different sources. So I buy those, and I blend them together. And so, and I, if I knew you were going to ask me, I would have it written down so you can share the screen. You can see the partial list of them. Do you have my book there?
I don't have your book handy, no.
Good, because in the part that says super seaweed, this is what super seaweed is made out of. So it covers all the different products that I buy. I also buy a Willard water.
What's that?
Willard water was invented by the name of Dr. Willard. It's for the human body, and it has sources of trace minerals that you would not believe. And so I don't know how he does it, but he gets the trace minerals from that. He processes the water through it and through some mixture, and it comes out that's really cool. It's made for people. But I started using it on plants because the minerals are the same thing they need. So
okay.
I also get trace minerals from the C90. It has 90 different trace minerals. But one of the best places to get microbes from is called Acres USA.
Acres USA, huh?
Yeah, you haven't heard of it, have you?
No.
Okay, so Acres USA, if you go to acresusa.com, it's nothing but good old farmers, good old organic farmers. I've been doing this for centuries. And they keyed into microbes. They make their own and they sell it. And they sell it. You can buy large quantities of it because it's for farming, right? Or small amounts of it. They have different, and every year they keep coming up with better sources. So I've stopped trying to make it myself. I just buy it from these dudes. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, but in the original day, you were taking seaweeds, you were taking rock dust, you were taking microbes, and you were extracting them.
Right.
Like,
I would. One of the things I would do is I learned really early. I met the man who actually brought to the United States. Let's see. It's I think it's effective microorganisms.
oh, EM1.
Right, exactly right. I met him at a talk in Fayetteville, Arkansas. I was talking about, I was at an organic conference in 1972, 73, 74, somewhere in there. And I had talked about super seaweed. The guy raised it, I have this product. And we traded. He gave me some of his stuff and I gave him some of my stuff. And he says, because it's very similar, except that he is from Korea, I think it is, right?
Yep.
And you know about Korean farming, right?
Yeah, of course.
Which they do something similar you do. They find a place that's rich with the mycorrhiza and stuff, and they grow it. They have a way to grow it, and they take it, put it in somebody's property, and they grow it there, move it over, right?
Yep. Yeah, it's a collection box.
Right, collection box. Well, they also have a way to make liquids.
Yep, of course they do. A lot of different solutions.
I keyed into those liquids a long time ago. And actually, when I was in Cuba, I went to Cuba and Puerto Rico. In Puerto Rico, I got to meet my great-grandparents who were into farming. And so I found out early about compost. I found out early about manures, different types of animal manures. They have different types of microbes that come with them. And then I started reading about Rudolf Steiner's biodynamic microbes, why he was so much into the stomach of the cow kind of thing, right?
Yep.
And I go, holy cow, right? Holy cow. Because I learned that it's the stomach that produces the different kinds of microbes. And that stomach, when the cow poops, goes back to the soil, right?
Yep.
Right. So that's how he re-energizes the microbes there. That's why I keep telling people, Mother Nature has not been doing her thing for a long time now, because there are trillions and trillions of animals dying and pooping and doing all those things they normally do. Right.
Well, so what I call that is the mass expansion of humanity wiped out the mass migrations that kept the planet fertile and made it the Garden of Eden.
Exactly. And that's what's going on now is that I tell people, when was the last time an animal died in your backyard?
Right?
When was the last time an animal came and pooped in your backyard, other than the dog, you know?
Right, exactly.
Right? And so that stopped that process, because they would travel around the world and transfer stuff all over the place. Now it's not happening anymore.
No, and it hasn't for a long time.
So I keyed into the different types of animals. I learned how to make a manure tea a long time ago. And there are different stages of manure, I found out, just by smell. I would smell something, wait a couple hours, another day, it smells differently. Different microbes would be added. Right?
Yep.
Right. So I learned that by the smell. So I was very good with roses. And I would, the way I dealt with roses, I would make a manure tea that had to smell a certain way. And I would spray that, and I'd not get rid of the disease.
Interesting.
So it was also minerally rich. Right, and so I learned to do the minerals and the back microbes together, and certain types of microbes work really well. Like your compost, more than likely has the microbes in other people's compost. And people who make compost that doesn't have the microbes, it's just soil.
Right.
It doesn't produce the same thing, and they're going to complain and say, well, this is rich compost. And yet my plants need, because I wrote an article, it's compost a fertilizer. If you make it right, yes, it feeds it. If you don't make it right, no, it's not feeding.
Right, it doesn't do anything. Or or worse yet, it's a herbicide, like Agromin stuff. All right, so you've learned early that if you mix the rock dust, the bacteria or the biology in these 8 different seaweeds, and what would you do? Would you let it ferment, or would you just mix it up and bottle it and use it?
No. So there's a process where I have these little. Normally, and for example, the Nitron company and the Agromin people, they would make a big giant 500-gallon vats and a big giant thing that would turn it around, and they would package it and ship it. But then the guy who was making it says, you have to process it, you have to harvest it, so to speak, at the right time. Too soon, too late, there's a certain timing is involved. So I make it in these little 5-gallon things, just like you've seen them, the little white buckets that are 5 gallons, right? So I make a small batch in there, and I stir it up, and it takes about a week to a month for it to be made available, be ready to go out. Too soon, nothing's happening. Too late, it stinks. Literally.
So basically, you were doing a biological digestion.
Yes,
what
right.
I call that. Was there an indicator like white foam on the top, or?
That's right. The mycorrhiza started growing like crazy in the container. You lift up the top, they say, "Hey, how you doing?" Oh, okay, put the top back on again. Yeah. The microbes, the white fuzzy stuff would just cover everything.
Yep.
I would not throw that away. I would take that and bury it under the worst tree that I could find, the sickest tree I could find, because that's still a good product.
No, agreed.
One of the things I do is I call them tree vents. So one of the things I learned is about paramagnetism. I learned that paramagnetism is very important in the absorption of trace minerals and the production of trace minerals in the right form. There are lots of things in nature that are paramagnetic. So I found this product that they sell at this rock shop it's called Barjay Brothers in Santa Monica. And in Malibu, they're called wine whores, but they're really clay drain pipes. And these clays are paramagnetic.
Well, clay is by default paramagnetic. It has both.
Exactly right. But this particular one, the one that these guys sell are really more paramagnetic than usual. Actually, whatever the clay is, because I can tell it's paramagnetic. I have a way of determining something. So what I do is I bury them in a certain place, 4 of them under certain places under the trunks of the tree, under the root systems of the tree. You look up and you see this is a good place to do it, because when I call them is I start colonies. So in there put a drip system, and the filter is on the drip system. In there is where I make my mixture. I take this liquid and I put it in there, but I also take the fuzzy stuff and put it in there. And I want the microbes and the mycelium to take off and grow in it. You open it up, and you look at it, it's full of mycelium growing like crazy, and it spreads out underneath the ground and covers the root system. And as soon as it touches the root system, it literally heals the root systems.
So back it up. The clay, you buried clay pots, and then you filled it with your super seaweed. So you have what we call a slow release into the root ball.
Right. And then you can in the root systems of all the trees, there are specific species of mycorrhiza, microbes that live on the root system of the tree, and their job is to take what the other microbes give to them and transfer it to the tree.
Yep.
That's what they do.
So would you go back later and dig up the pots to see what was going on, or to remove them and put them somewhere else?
No, I don't have to move them, but I did that because I wanted to see what was going on. And so a lot of times when people call me, I got this sick tree, has this disease, has this pest, it's usually the soil. I learned the fastest way to heal the soil is to recolonize it.
Yep, of course.
And I recolonize it using these cool little trees. They're about that, maybe 2 feet, and they're about that round.
So they're cylinders.
Cylinders, right. Oh, follow through it. So I buried them. I put a grate on top of it.
Oh, so it's not a jar or a vessel. It's actually a tube. It's a clay tube.
Open to the bottom.
So those were like tiling, water tiles for fields.
Yeah. They're probably used for that or something, but they're called clay drain pipes.
Yeah. They're for geo.
With a drip going through there with a filter system, because city water closes. You have a filter system hooked into the drip, and it keeps it. If it dries, they all die. But if it has some moisture to them, and a lot of times what I would do is I would dig next to it, just dig a little bit, and in the process of digging out, you'll see this layer of mycorrhiza develop. And if you work to clean out around the roots, you see the roots will be covered with it.
Yep.
And no sooner did the roots get covered with it than the tree starts to recover.
Of course it does.
From whatever disease, whatever pest. It's just in Malibu. a big. It's not a pine. It's a big oak. It's kind of like an oak tree, but really, really big. I forgot the name of it now.
And it has the needles on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. They're thin.
Yeah, and this had a borer, a bark beetle borer, that all the arborists would say,
kill it.
You can't do anything about it. You have to kill it. And so one arborist says, well, talk to him. And I've been there for 15 years now.
And who is it? Who's the client? Can you say?
Actually, I gave him your number because they need to. I don't like mentioning clients because they don't like that. But I gave him your number because a friend of mine was making compost, and he refused to add any of the good manures to it. He was just use horse. He was just it was some kind of pine tree. I forget the name of it, but he was just use horse manure. And I says, no. I want you to get as wide range of manure as possible. Get some cow, get some sheep, some rabbits, some chicken. I want that in there. And he would say no. And finally, the owner said, you're not going to make the compost anymore. Because part of the problem they were making, he was making it, but it would sit there for months in the sun. Then he would bag it up and sit there for another week or two in the sun bag. I says, dude, there's no microbes left in there. If there was any,
right.
There's nothing left in there. There's nothing. I have this little cool device that shows you the doesn't tell you the microbes, just tells you if it's rich in microbes.
So that would be the microbiometer.
Yeah, exactly right. Right.
Yeah. I unfortunately kind of stepped back from that group very, very early on in the development days because in the work that I do, the humic acid skews the test. So I was testing 100% every fucking time, and I'm like, Judy, this doesn't work. And she's like, oh, it works. It works. I go, well, it might work in soil, but it doesn't work in compost. So heads up. And so she tried to tweak it a little bit. Unfortunately, she passed away, I think like last year or the year before. But I believe her daughter is continuing to try to move that product forward. And again, she was the rock star. She was an R&D for. I
think I talked to her daughter, and I actually bought one of them because I was going to prove to the owner that this compost is not what you want. It's good. It's soil. It's better than nothing. It's a good soil amendment. But the key to healthy plants, healthy tree, is the microbes. Is the biology. If you don't have the biology in the compost, you can't just throw biology into the compost and say, okay, that's going to work. It has to be part of the compost process. I tell people, you know why we make compost? You think, oh, it's recycling. No, that's just a benefit. You make compost to help heal the soil.
Great.
It's medicine for the soil. You bring the microbes back. And I also learned too that, like this customer that you're going to call it, most people's property have 30 or 40 different plants from around the world.
Right.
And like a palm tree, whatever. They are genetically been grown in that section of the world with that specific type of microbes. You don't find them here. So that's why I get a blend of different microbes and I spray on people's properties because there's a blend of different plants.
Yep.
One of them will work.
Same philosophy I have. It's all about diversity because you really don't know which ones are going to do.
It's all about diversity.
Which ones are going to support the soil succession and which ones are going to support the plant, because all of those things are interactive, but they're all very, very different.
Right. So what I learned, one of the things I tell people is the more microbiology is in the soil, the more diversity of microbes are in the soil, the less you're going to have pests and diseases.
Agreed, 100%.
100%. Even ants. When I first started doing this, people called me, I have an ant problem. I don't know if I told you this, but did I tell you about the two trees? One was sick, one was healthy.
Say that again.
Did I tell you about the two trees? One was sick, one was healthy.
I believe you mentioned it last week, but if you want to, bring it up again, sure.
Well, the first thing this lady, my very first house call ever was about this lady says, I have ants falling down from the roof, ants coming everywhere. Help. And then I looked at, as I was walking up, there's a tree on the left side, a tree on the right side. One tree looked awful, the other tree looked beautiful. I said, what's going on there, right? What's going on there? And one tree was constantly there was a leak in the bib. Water drip all the time.
Oh, so
soil went really nice and dry. I tell people microbes are not very good swimmers.
No, they want even moisture.
Right, they're not very good swimmers. So if they start to drown, then the microbes are. Then you get a different type of microbes entirely, different kinds of bacteria entirely. That's where you get the diseases, and that's what was happening. Ants were key.
We call those the anaerobes. So there's the aerobes and the anaerobes, and then the middle.
These names is cool, and that's what happened. And that's what's happening to this tree. So this tree was not getting fed the way you normally feed it. People think, I'm just going to dump this on the soil and that takes care of the tree. No, it doesn't work that way. You try to eat this stuff. You try to chew on some chemical fertilizer or even organic fertilizer. Your stomach's going to go, what the heck are you doing?
Yep, exactly. And that's always been the issue with organic fertilizers. If you don't have the microbiology, you will get no reaction. It will just sit there on the top of the soil and do nothing.
They don't get it. One lady told me, she says, I've been in organic gardening for centuries, and this tree's getting older and older and older. And the next door neighbor came over, dumped some urea, and the tree went, ah!
Yeah, fucking scared the shit out of it.
And so it must be, so organics doesn't work. I says, no, you have dead soil. Organic fertilizers are meant to work in living soil. Nothing's alive in there other than the dead stuff, and not going to work.
Yep, agreed.
That's why I like this. I don't know if I should mention the product because it's a well-known organic fertilizer that has about 10 different species of mycelium in. Now, mycelium, it's still not the same microbes.
Okay, mycelium, be careful. Mycelium means a body or group of bodies of fungi. And yes, you're right. Inside that white thread, there could be thousands of different types of fungi, all working at different angles, systems, needs, desires, representing different successions. And there's even mycorrhizae can be in those cords or those threads. So I always try to correct people about saying, are you talking about a saprobe? Or are you talking about a mycorrhizae? But don't use the word mycelium because mycelium is just a coating, a vehicle. Think of it as
that's what they say on the package. It says mycelium on the package.
And then again, they as the knowledge gets out there about these things, just like the dogma of soil science, you can't measure sand, silt, and clay based on their particle size. You should be measuring them based on their physical attributes. Sand does not hold a charge. Clay holds a positive and a negative charge. Silt generally holds a negative charge. Silt is organic. Sand can be calcitic sand or it can be quartzitic.
Right.
So they all have different properties. So how dare you say, oh, well, it fell through this sieve, so it's obviously sand, or it's obviously clay, or it's silt. That's dogma. So the company that you're talking about needs to be updated, needs to be more educated as to what the fuck they're actually selling, because you can't sell mycelium. Mycelium, you have to grow it. So do they have fungal spores? Sure, but they shouldn't call it mycelium. They should call them spores. So that the clients actually know what the fuck they're buying.
I think they're trying to tap into people who think they're smart. Oh, mycelium, I'm buying stuff with mycelium. But I think it's better than buying stuff that doesn't have anything in it at all.
Oh, agreed, 100%.
That's why I always make sure that I add my microbes to it.
Yep.
See, I make microbes from rice, for example. I've always have. My mother used to do that. Make stuff from rice. She would, when she cooked rice, you know how you clean the rice? You add water to it and you throw the water away. But she never threw the water away.
No, that stuff is rice water. Is an amazing thing for growing microbes.
Right, and then she would add milk to it, and it would turn like cheese.
Yep.
And she would use that in her plants. And I said, "Where did you get all this stuff?" Well, we've just passed on from my family. We've been doing it forever, She also, when I was in Puerto Rico, I remember distinctly, she would dig a hole, get a clay pot, put it in there, put something in there, cover it back up slightly, and then come back in a month, dig it up and use it.
So basically like a Steinbrenner or Steiner prep, like the horn.
Exactly.
502, whatever.
502.
I can't remember them all. But yeah, I mean, that's always been a real appreciation of mine is the Puerto Ricans, like they would always, before they built the fucking house, they'd go 5 years before they built the house and they'd plant fruit trees and nut trees and the whole garden there. So by the time they actually came to build the house, you had a living forest garden ready to go.
Yeah.
I mean, and again, they didn't have the money to buy the stupid fertilizers, so they learned to make their own, which,
Exactly right. When I was young, I would go to the store. You have any organic fertilizers? That kid wants some organic fertilizer. No. And I would go, fine. And I would go to the store, walk through the aisles. I say, I'll buy some of this, buy some of that, buy some of this, make my own stuff from the food that they were selling.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it worked really good in my garden. So much people say, what are you growing? Oh, that's got a little bit of milk. That's got a little bit of this in it. It's got some rice in it. It's got this in it. I would just put them together. And I actually do that now to this day. I make a liquid and I spray the people's properties with it. I think it's absolutely wonderful. And I've sent it to the lab and they tell you what's in it. That's even cooler, too.
Yep. Yep. No, I think I mentioned last week there was a gentleman that I met in Connecticut who basically would let his milk almost sour, but not sour, but it would slightly have a smell to it. Yeah. And he'd spray his lawn, and he had a golf course lawn.
Right. I was just there. I was just smelling my stuff yesterday. I go, nah, not there yet.
Yeah, right.
You're starting to smell it just a little bit. You want it to have a certain order, not so much to where it stinks, but enough to where you know.
Right, a funk. I use the word funk because it's almost like a hormone or pheromone, right? So it doesn't have any. It's not like it doesn't have a smell. It definitely has a smell, but it has a smell that makes your nose go, whoa, whoa, whoa. What is that, right? Because our nose is designed to protect us. Tell us if there's a fire coming. Tell us if something smells bad. We shouldn't eat it because it's going to make us sick or kill us, right? And if it smells really good, then we get like aromatherapy. So our nose is an incredibly powerful tool.
And I still use it. I use it all the time when I'm spraying.
Hell yeah.
People come to me and says, what is that smell? Some people say, oh my God, it's awful. And other people say, hey, that's cool. I tell you a secret too. My stuff will work better if it was smelling really worse than it is now, but people can't handle it. They say, this smells awful. I says, it's good for the plants. That's what you want. Go inside, relax, and you'll be fine because it will dissipate. But I learned that the more active it is, the better it is for what I want to do, to use.
Agreed, 100%. As a matter of fact, I'm working with a company now, I have been for the last 6 months, called EcoSphere Sciences. And what they've done is Mo's created an aerobic digester. As a matter of fact, he was on the show a couple weeks back, if you want to listen to it when you have time. And so in part of the process with him, one of the things I did was I tested microbially the stinky stuff, the stuff that came out fresh. It had a ping to it, but it didn't smell horrible. And then stuff that I aerobically digested or stabilized. Yeah. So I took their liquid and I put it in 110 gallons into one of my brewers, and I brewed it for 24 hours, and it smelled like fish brew. It became smelling sweet. And I was like, damn, that's a real good indicator that something special just happened.
Exactly. Unfortunately, I love you, brother. You're one of the rare few people that understands this, because most people are like,
likewise. Dude, when I first met you,
most people they're having the faintest idea what the hell I'm talking about. I don't want to say anything, but my co-host is like, one of them is like, what are you talking about? Holy cow. And so, and they say, you're crazy. I say, thank you.
Yes, I'm definitely fucking crazy. But
and that's it right there. And some people are like natural cooks. It's like a cook. You're cooking. You're
baking. You're not cooking. You're baking. Because baking is so much harder. You have so many more ingredients. You have so much less tolerance. If you open the oven too soon, the fucking thing collapses. If you leave it on the bottom, burns. So
she says she can do. Why do you say you can't teach people how to make your super seaweed? I says, it's taken me years of making mistakes. Even when I give you the formula, you can still make the mistake.
Oh, hell
and turn it into something disgusting that no plant would want to eat. Right? You know what I mean?
And then you're going to badmouth me because you fucked up.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So I agree with you. I'll teach compost making, but I'll definitely give people like a stern be careful. Don't be an instant idiot. Like, I'm giving you some knowledge, but if you try to go outside the parameters, you're going to have a problem, right? If you don't pay attention, you let it dry out, you overwater, you add too much
over and over again. They think, I know everything. I'm just going to bag it up. I'm going to let it sit in the sun for 2 weeks to a month because it won't hurt it. Everything's fine. I'm going, yeah. And
no.
so I tell people, when you make compost and you want it to sell it, you have to sell it within 24 to 48 hours. Bingo. And they have to use it. They take it home. They're not going to sit there and tell them, you need to use it. People used to buy my liquid. And I say, on demand, you take it home, you use it right away.
Andy, I did the same thing. And do you know how many people called me back a month later and said, this stuff stinks. Why didn't you warn me? And I'm like, I told you. Exactly. This was like a kitten. You left the kitten in a hot fucking car. Of course the damn kitten died. You didn't water it. You didn't feed it. You didn't take care of it.
So a lady bought a bottle of super seaweed. She put it in the sunny place. It blew up. Right? Dude, and she said, hey, my super seaweed blew up. Why didn't you do it? So I had it over by the window. I said, I told you to keep it in a cool, dark place. And it got everybody so excited they just expanded and went out and blew up the bottle.
Andy, you want to laugh? You want to laugh your ass off? So I was working with this very well-known company that makes a phosphorus solubilizing bacteria. I'm not going to use the name, but you can probably figure it out. I was working with the owner, and we were developing new types of phosphate solubilizing bacteria that were not grown in a lab, but they were grown in vivo, in nature. And he was all excited, so I shipped him 3 different 5-gallon buckets, one where it was completely aerobically stabilized, so plus 8.8 parts per million in oxygen, one that was half stabilized, so 4 parts per million oxygen, so we're in the facultative range, and then one that was anaerobic, right, had not been stabilized at all. And he handed it off to one of his supposed scientists, and the dude put it up in the attic of the building and forgot about it, and it exploded and tripped every single one of the biosensors in this biological manufacturing facility. All 80 employees had to be evacuated. They called in the fire department, the police department, the fucking CDC, the fucking waste handlers.
That's
shut the fucking business down.
That's an idiot for you.
And you know, the crazy thing was he called me and he was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm like, what are you sorry about, dude? He goes, the whole plant got shut down because we didn't handle your biology correctly. And I'm like, I thought you guys were fucking scientists. Right. What are you fucking doing, man?
So my experience has been...
Incidentally, we never worked together again.
My experience has been the more professional the person is, the harder he's going to really understand what I'm talking about.
Well, they know everything. I call them glass full. You try to add water to a glass full.
You should have seen me in my first year of college. The first thing the professor says, there's no difference between synthetic nitrogen and natural nitrogen in nature. And I went, ding!
I'm out of here.
I said, you're gotta be kidding me. You know, and he says, no, there is no difference. Nitrogen is nitrogen. Yes, yeah. Nitrogen is nitrogen, but you got to count everything else that comes with it. You have urea, because that's how you get urine. You know, urea is named after urine, right? Urea is 4500. That's all it has. Whereas urine, you're lucky if it's 2% nitrogen, but it has everything else in nature in there with it.
Again, all your minerals and trace minerals.
That's a big difference. Mm-hmm. I told him, tell the plants that, tell the soil that. And that was like 1970.
Yeah, I purposely never went to ag school because of the exact same thing. All they teach is chemistry. It's like being a doctor, going to medical school. All they teach you is fucking pharmaceutical. They don't tell you nutrition. They don't even talk about fucking nutrition.
So this teacher said, okay, let's prove it. Let's have a growing let's grow
side by side.
Yeah, let's just do something, and you do something, you will do something, and we'll see who wins. And so I said, okay. So they had 10 acres, and they wanted to do next to each other. I said, I don't want to be next to you. I want to be as far away from you as possible, man. I don't want to be anywhere near you. You do whatever you want to do. And you're giving me these corn seeds? Sorry, you grow that from your corn seeds. I'm going to get some heirloom organic corn seeds that have been grown for centuries. organically. And I'm going to mend the soil. I'm going to do everything I have to do rather than just stick them in the ground and see what happens. So he had a batch of corn, and I had a batch of corn. It was about 10 miles away. So what happened was these group of cows broke out. They went right past their place. They didn't eat a single one. Maybe one ate it, and they knew where my field was. They went right to my field. Yum, 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 yum. That told me everything. Plus, I had this table, and he had his, and they were, you couldn't tell who was what, you know. And people would chew on stuff. Yeah, this stuff they will like.
Yep.
See, and there's a big difference, And then he says, well, you can grow anything. You have a purple thumb. I go, yeah, thanks a lot. The students are all purple thumb too. Is that what you're saying? You know, so I've been at this for a long time, and it's very, very hard to get the professors to understand what the heck you're talking about. These are professors. I
know, they've been brainwashed, unfortunately.
Right, and they say, you know, and so they say privately, you know, I can't really say anything because we're funded by the chemical companies. If we say anything, we're going to lose our funding. So we have to just keep it on the side. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You know,
yep.
And same thing with being a certified arborist. I took the test 5 times. I'm glad I didn't pass it because I would be by law restricted to the list of chemicals they would give you.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. The word organic only appears once, and they talk about organic garlic.
Well, it's the same as the poor doctors, man. They have no choice. They cannot tell you to take an herb or any kind of nutraceutical or what they call alternative medicine, which has been around for thousands of fucking years. They can only prescribe you these pharmaceuticals. And all they do is they fix a symptom. They don't cure you. None of them are designed to cure. They don't cure you.
Law of cause and effect. Just deal with the effect.
Money.
Come back on a regular basis, and we'll deal with the effects. But deal with the cause. There goes the effect.
Yeah, there goes all your clients, right?
I recently was talking to my VA doctor, quote VA doctor, and he said, he says, "Oh, are you taking the drugs I prescribed to you?" And I says, "Which one?" There's like 6 of them. Are you taking them all? I go, "Well, you want me to take them all one time or separately or what?" And then I said, "Oh, look, I'll tell you the truth. I'm throwing them away. I'm doing some psilocybin mushroom. That's my drug." And the mouth dropped. He's sitting there going, well, I can't. Well, he didn't know what to say. He didn't know what to say, what to do about it or anything. And I actually joined this church where they feed DMT to mushrooms, and then they give you the mushrooms and they teach you how to do microdosing. They didn't have to teach me, but it works. It cures almost any ailment that I have. My problem is I'm healing too fast because I'm trying to get benefits, right? So if I heal too fast, I say, no, you're fine, because they say you don't have neuropathy. And one doctor says, I do. I went back recently. The doctor said, you better get the benefits soon because your neuropathy is disappearing very fast. You know, and that's true. At 74, I was diagnosed with so many different things that it's just going away without doing the drugs. And I kept saying, I'm surprised you seriously wanted me to do these 4 different drugs at the same time. What am I missing here? What's wrong with this picture?
Yeah, right.
Bad.
Hey, did you hear about there's a group, I believe, in England right now that has converted a DMT into a slow drip formula so that it doesn't have the same bam, right? It has a slow lift, and then they maintain the lift, and then they slowly bring you back down. And they're finding it's curing fucking everything.
That's why you learn the when I do the microdose, I make it for other people too, and so I tested it. So I want them to find out their limits first, what they can, the amount that they can do, that they trippy, and then we back off a little bit. But you want to really be on that edge where if you do just the right amount, you're a little trippy, but you're not going, oh my God, you're going, oh my God, right?
It's more manageable.
And it's more manageable because if you have a really bad trip,
you're never going back.
They never do that. I used to work for the Crisis Prevention Society. I was actually a volunteer in Gainesville. I don't know if I told you this, but they would call me, hey, there's a guy in the dude doing the anesthesia going to jump off. I said, no problemo. I would go up there and I ignore him. I'll go sit in the corner, drop a hit of LSD, and be tripping. Ha 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 ha! And they would look at me. And the guy would come over and say, "Dude, what's going on? I'm having a great time. What about you?" Next thing you know, we're both having a great time, right? And he forgot that he was out there to kill himself. I would say, "Hey, let's leave our bodies, go hang on that cloud over there." Or I would drag him out of his body, go sit on the cloud, and we'd go watching the birds go by. I said, "How do we do that? What the hell?" Right? It would be like, after a while, it would be like, "This is really cool. I don't know what was wrong with me in the first place." And I did that for many years in Gainesville. I loved it. It was the perfect thing for me to do because I would normally do that shit anyway. I learned a long time ago. When I was in the service, I did LSD almost all the time. I told you that. I'm a universal blood donor, and people, Lopez, we love your blood. And I told her, I said, "Sir, I did some LSD about a few weeks ago." "Yeah, I know. We know. You told me that, but it gets into the blood, and they'd be smiling. They're lying there going,
You were the microbial digester for the LSD.
I was that digester. I ate it, processed it, and then
toned it down enough so that they could enjoy the ride.
And now I don't have to do LSD. The only thing I've ever done is LSD and mushrooms. I never did cocaine or any of those things. But I don't have to do anything to trip. I can induce a trip, a full-blown trip, without doing anything because it's there already. It's there automatically. I have to be careful because sometimes I'm watching some psychedelic and the body says, "Hey, you want to trip?" I go, no, not right now.
I'm already tripping.
When I'm driving, you have the sun going through these things, you know. I hear it. But they automatically triggers it.
Yep. No, I hear you. There is. I noticed that when I was microdosing after Pauline passed. I got to a really, really bad place, dude. And I hero dosed a few times to really knock the shit out of myself. And then I started microdosing. But I got to the point where all I had to do was just think about it. And it tripped a switch in my brain. And it was like, I don't need it anymore.
You know, I was here. You know, I was always here for you.
I know, dude. But I wasn't talking to anybody. I was completely in a shell.
All we have to do is go in the woods, take off our clothes, run around naked for a few days, and it's over with.
That's what I love about you, brother. You get it. You fucking get it. But at that point in time, I was too far deep into a hole. I was missing her too much, and you know what triggered me, dude, was I was in the supermarket. I hadn't eaten in 2 days. I was like, I was force feeding at that point, and I was like, I gotta eat something, man. I gotta buy some groceries. I had nothing in the fucking house. So I went to the grocery store. I walked in, picked up my basket. I started walking through the fruit aisle, and I saw two young couples laughing and giggling and teasing each other.
That was very good.
And I dropped the basket, and I turned around and I walked out. And halfway to my car, I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Why are you mad that those couple were happy? They were enjoying life, and you got mad? What the fuck is wrong with you? And that's when I called my buddy, and I said, dude, you gotta come down here. I got some gear. I need a host. I need someone to watch me, and I gotta go fucking deep. And so he hopped on a plane. He actually brought some super clean, strong chocolates. That, dude, I was literally like this with my hands on the chair, going for 2.5 hours.
I have some shrooms that I've grown that they're from Egypt.
Okay.
And these guys are tiny little things. But these tiny little things are most powerful shrooms I've ever done in my life.
Yeah, so I
figured they're tiny. How powerful could they be? So I did a whole bunch of them. I tripped it from 10 o'clock in the morning to 10 o'clock at night. It was like full-blown thing. If it wasn't for my experience, I would have just jumped off the window or done something. But let me tell you what I was going to say is that, you know, Susan died about 4 years ago. And we were married 42 years.
Yeah, I know, dude.
And there are things that trigger it. Like Mother's Day is a very tough day for me. Is this Mother's Day? Yesterday.
Yeah.
Right, because I get my mother and I get her. Both of them. And, you know, for Mother's Day, because she has kids that I grew up, you know, I was like their dad for them. And it still triggers me. I've learned that it's okay to cry. You let go of it. You cry. You relax. You just don't make a habit of it. You don't keep it going. You just let it go. And I still feel it. I still feel I'm by myself. I'm alone. I'm not a loner. I'm not really a loner. I'm used to living with a hot babe in my bed.
Mm-hmm.
Simple as that. You know what I mean? So I'm alone. And so I have to learn. That's why I started doing from this company, because I can't grow anymore. And I'm not touching these mushrooms. I am not touching them because I made a batch and I thought it was normal because I was making it for this guy who has a spine up his back, you know. Okay, let me make sure the right amount. You want it a little strong? Fine. And I took it, man. It was like I'm lucky I could sit down. I laid down. Fortunately, I did the right thing. I had YouTube on playing some mantras, and I got into the mantras. And by 10 o'clock at night, I'm going, holy cow! I think I can walk now. I can breathe. I can do things because it was gone. I was like, and that wasn't a bad trip because it could have been a bad trip, right? I could have started running outside, right?
Yep.
So don't feel bad. You're human. You're a human being, and you miss somebody you love. You just have to evolve and keep moving, keep going.
Well, you know what I do, dude, is I remind myself of, you know, what was driving her crazy at the end, and that was what's going on all around us right now. You know, whether it's the digital currencies, whether it's the vaccines, you know, all of this insanity. And she passed a year. It will be 2 years, December 19th. Between the time December 19th and she passed, and she was very incoherent for quite some time prior to passing. A lot of shit has come out that she and I, had used to get us through that pandemic, because we knew this was bullshit. We knew this was fucking the science work to try to get right of function in a virus. It's a biological fucking weapon. Bottom line, we fucking knew it. Right? No bat fucking fucked a peregrine and then the person fucking ate the monkey that kissed the peregrine. Bullshit. Right? And so in many ways, she escaped some of the stuff that would have fucking driven her crazy.
Yeah, Susan did too. When she died was just right when the pandemic started. She didn't have to go through the vaccine stuff or any of those things, or be afraid of anything. And you know, I have to tell you that. So the weekend before she died, because she really couldn't see anything, so we watched every series of Star Trek.
Nice.
Every series of Star Trek, and that was a Saturday. She died on the Monday.
Nice.
And so what I did was, I knew she was going to die. I didn't want her to die in the house with me here. Right? I wanted her. For some reason, I don't think I could have handled it if she was die right in my bed there with me, right? You know. So I found a loophole in the system where it allows most of these Medicare places are meant to keep people alive, not to let them die there. But there's a loophole in that I, as a caregiver, need a break. So I said, I need a break. Come and get her. So they got her Sunday night. She died Monday morning. And so I couldn't, for some reason, I couldn't be there when she died. I said I couldn't do that. I couldn't.
You know what? The only reason that I was able to deal with it, because I actually begged her daughter to bring her home, get her the fuck out of that nursing home. Yeah. I said, nursing home is all negative energy. Yeah. You got screaming crazy people. She can't sleep. She can't fucking eat. She's constantly being disturbed. I said, get her the fuck out of there. She's like, well, we can't afford the nurse. We can't afford the nurse. And I'm like, fuck the goddamn nurse. I have an extra bedroom. One of you fly the fuck out here. And if I can't do it because I got to go to work, you fucking do it. So she was able to come home. Thank the fucking God. I was able to get all her friends and family here weeks before she passed, so that she had a beautiful transition. No fucking pain. I got the fucking, finally got the doctor to give her fentanyl patch with a morphine bump. She was clear. Wasn't all fucked up and miserable because of the fucking OxyContin that they were giving her. And she transitioned in one of the most beautiful ways. Now, it still fucking hurts like hell to even talk about it.
I can tell your colors are changing. But listen, they used to send me morphine to give to her because he was in so much pain.
Well, at least you got morphine and not Oxy, dude. I had to fucking scream and yell at those motherfuckers. That Oxy would drive her all the way up. She couldn't think. She couldn't function. And as soon as that fucking hit the threshold and she crashed, she'd be screaming in fucking agony. I mean, I just want to strangle those fucking
doctors. That's ridiculous. And you know what happened to me was that when she died, they kept sending me the morphine. I kept getting it in the mail. So I drank 2 bottles of this stuff. I figured, okay, I'm going to go now. Bye-bye. I went to sleep for 3 days. I had a wonderful rest period because during that time for about 2 years, at least a year, I would be up all night. At 4 o'clock in the morning, I see her running around naked. So I had to stay awake to watch her. What are you doing now? So I've learned to be up at night. And so it was a really tough scenario. I couldn't sleep at all. So I hadn't gotten any really rest or anything. And, you know, concerning the nurse, I would go out and make $50 an hour, but I would spend $75 on the nurse per hour.
Yep.
Right. And then on top of that, every time there was a problem, the Mercy ambulance, $4,000. They could have sent it to a place that Medicare covered. No, they sent it to this place.
Of course, dude. It's
a
all
different place. I said, why didn't you take it to the place that Medicare covered everything? Well, you have to tell us to send it to the place that Medicare covers. I said, well, I assume you automatically would take her to where it's covered. Then you send me a bill for $4,000. We know where they fucked up. They put the bill in her name.
Oh, lucky you.
So I said, it's not in my name. It's not me. And they did it 4 fucking times, $4,000, $16,000. The same company was billing because something was wrong with Susan. Like, for example, she couldn't pee. You know, so I said, waited 2 days. You have to pee after the 3rd day, you know. I would send her there. And the ambulance would come and take her. And I didn't even know all this time that was taking her to the wrong. The guy said, everybody here, you're paying for the guard, you're paying for the nurse, you're paying for everybody where it could have been covered through Medicare. It's a big ripoff.
That's a game, dude. It's not. It's a money-making fucking machine.
Same
anybody that tells you that medicine in America is about taking care of people, fuck no. It's a giant monetary system.
It's about making money. The VA is about making money, not taking care of veterans. It's about making money.
Agreed.
I have to fight for every benefit that I would get. They don't tell you these are the benefits you're going to get. Figure it out yourself. You got to figure out what benefits you're going to get. Now I find I get all these. I'm 30% disabled. Okay, I could be 60% disabled if they had told me the benefits I'm eligible for so I can apply for them. I have to find out from other vets. Yep. No, you can get this, you can get that. Really? I can get this, I can get that. And then you have to fight for it. You have to say, you go to the doctor, says, I'm mentally ill. That's one of the issues that they can't prove or disprove is mental illness, right? In terms of getting sick mentally. You know, you're having, like, for example, I have tinnitus. I can't sleep at night. It screws me up.
You know what? I like to call it brain health, not mental health.
Brain health, exactly right.
Your brain is dysfunctioning. It's not firing. It's not releasing the right chemicals at the right times, at the right places. And so that's brain health. And anybody can go through it. I mean, one concussion can fuck you up for months.
Exactly. So, I was on board ship on that landing platform helicopters. Helicopters would land all the time. People would run and get off. You're told which direction you're supposed to turn to get off. Okay, so you know what happens if you turn the wrong direction you run? Make a wild guess.
Well, you miss.
No, you get chewed up by the blades. In the back of the helicopter, there's a big blade. There's another blade like this.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Run into that blade. You don't turn left, you turn right. You go to the front of the copter. So this dude ran right into this blade. His head got caught off, helmet and all in the ocean, and he's there, no head. And I'm going, that was really interesting. And because I was really stoned, I'm not drinking booze, I didn't affect it too much other than eventually later on in life, I'm getting, right, blah, blah, right? I wake up dreaming of the very same thing over again. It's kind of weird when you get a helmet with the head in it.
I can't even imagine.
Right. And I was on the ship New Jersey, which is a destroyer. And it's really cool because you know that you have these big guns, right? You can only shoot one side at a time. If it were to shoot both sides like this, it would destroy the ship. Boom, destroy the ship.
Wow, I didn't know that.
It would destroy the ship. So you have one big gun, you shoot on that side. You don't shoot the other gun. If you have two guns and you want to shoot, if the idiot shoots both ways at the same time, pow, it will destroy the ship.
Interesting.
But that makes such a loud noise you can hear it for the rest of your life.
Oh, I can imagine, dude.
They asked me, they said, were you exposed to any loud noise or anything? I said, well, let me think.
Yeah, a lot.
You know,
Just the helicopters alone are enough vibration to rattle your fucking brain around.
Right. And so I used to weigh 220 pounds. I would eat anything they gave me. There was like 50,000 Marines, 500 sailors, and 50 officers. So the Marines would be exercising, doing all their thing. And I used to smoke on the board ship. I don't know if I told you that, but I was smoking in the middle of the night. I was in a dark room with a photographer processing the and I was smoking in the dark room. The dark room would take the fans would blow it out throughout the ship. The guys would wake up and go, "Oh my God, am I hungry?" Yeah.
That's too cool.
Yeah. And they got a dog, and the dog turned me in. The dog scratched. I had a freezer which I kept film in it. So I had a fake wall. My pod was in the back of the fake wall. And the dog scratching. Go away, dog. Go away. And they open it up. I said, "Film." And the dog was going, "No, it's in there. And that's one of the first court martials I got for hauling pot. I said, "There's nothing wrong with marijuana. It's the booze that's killing you guys." And they was laughing at me. They told me men don't smoke pot. Men drink booze and cigarettes. I didn't smoke cigarettes either.
Programming.
How's that for? And I was 18 at the time. I go, "That's bullshit. Sorry." "Lopez, are you talking to me?" "Yes, sir. I'm talking right back at you." You know, I always fight him all the time. I go to the doctor. Says, "I'd rather smoke pot than take any drug you guys are giving me. I don't drink booze." Says, "Why don't you drink booze?" "But I don't like booze. I like pot." "Anything wrong with it?" And my reflexes were as good. It's not like you get stoned, you go, "Duh." You know, I get stoned, I'm like, choo, 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 you know? And even to this day, I get stoned and I do artwork.
Mm-hmm.
I get stoned and I write music.
Creative.
It's a sativa.
Yep, agreed.
If you get stoned and you train your brain, your mind, to open up some new synapses to work, it'll work every time. But if you train your mind to be an idiot, then nothing will happen. That's why they call being stoned. I can't move my feet. I can't feel my arms. I can't think. See, I used to get stoned. I remember taking tests. I would study stone and take the test stone. If I took it straight, I would remember a thing.
Or worse yet, you'd have failed.
Exactly right. So I remember to do the test while I'm stoned. This happened in college because I have a bachelor's degree. As I would study stone. I love it because I remember everything. I taught my brain to remember everything.
Yeah, it made it interesting. It made it interesting because studying is
right. I was very excited about it, and then I would have to do it stone too because I did it straight a couple of times. I didn't remember a thing. I could not access that information. Right,
because your neural pathways were not allowing it.
No, they said, "No, you ain't coming this way, buddy." But if I was stoned, it activates something that will allow me to access that information.
Well, it allowed the neurons to flow in both directions or to branch over to a next neuron.
Exactly.
So I mean, dude, I was in a place prior to my child.
But the Windows updates are still messing up.
I have a computer guy here. My computer's freaked out.
Oh boy.
Anyway, I'm lucky that I have a Mac because I was able to get the Mac to work.
Cool. Well, that's the universe hard at work, providing when more needed.
Yeah.
But one of the things I used to use cannabis for was dealing with clients, because clients were just like so frustrating because they didn't understand what I was talking about.
You would give it to them, or you would take it?
No, I would smoke a couple hits and then call them, and then I would be relaxed and comfortable enough to and not be rushed, and just be able to relax and walk them through the process so that they were comfortable and the job or the project would go forward. But if I didn't smoke, I'd be getting pissed and frustrated at them.
I have a lady friend that's basically on the verge of being an alcoholic. All her friends come over and they drink. And I've been telling her for years now, it's okay to do pot. Nothing's good comes out of alcohol. And if you do pot to get high, to enjoy, to relax, to be happy, it's good as opposed to doing pot. Because she would do indica and get stoned. I want to get away from life. I want to get away from everything. That's no good. But then she would do alcohol with this same thing. And it's just a little bit of alcohol fries your brain. I don't know how to say it, but it destroys the pathways. It destroys your brain functions, right? It destroys your pineal gland. The pineal gland doesn't work if it's drunk. It can't. Also, too, the food you eat, if you're eating toxins in your food, guess who's going to get it?
Of course.
Right?
And that's exactly why we've got fluoride and chlorine in our water. It's not to help us. It's to turn the brain off so that you are not a follower that follows any order or any rule that anybody throws at you. Because they don't want creative thinkers, dude.
When I was in school, I used to get stoned, and I used to tell people, "You're all lemmings. Everybody off the bridge, off the mountain." And I'm sitting there. I said, "Why aren't you jumping off?" I said, "No, you guys go right ahead.
Go ahead.
I'm going over here, and I'm going to have a good time." And I've always been that way. Always been that way. In school, I remember I didn't smoke pot in the 6th grade, 7th grade, or 9th grade. I didn't do any of that stuff until I got in the service. But I had the same energy. I would get bored in the 6th grade. I'm looking out the window, and the teacher said, "Are you bored?" I said, "Yes, I am bored. I'm so bored. I'm looking at that tree, and I'm wondering why it's so beautiful." The tree, "No, you have to look here. You have to be here." And I think I failed the 6th grade because it was so boring. I mean, the math. And I said, "Why do I need algebra for? Why don't we do gardening or something?" You know. And it's like, I'm still that way. Even when I go to talk to people, if I go, that's why I don't go to lectures anymore. Because if I get really bored, I start talking to the lecturer. I start talking to the guy. I said, "What are you talking about?" I don't go to gardening shows anymore because I sit there and going, "This is absolutely crazy. You guys are selling a product that's actually more damaging." Okay, so a couple of days ago, I was on Amazon. This product says all natural organic fertilizer, right? And I'm looking at the ingredients, and so I called them up and it says, "What is natural about urea? What is natural about?" "Oh, it's a chemical fertilizer." "Well, why are you saying that on your label? You know, that's illegal. You're going to get in big trouble." And I wrote it on Amazon. I reviewed. This is not even organic, not even natural. It's a chemical fertilizer with some natural products in it. The natural products are getting destroyed by the chemical fertilizer that they're putting in. So what are you getting?
Well, I'll tell you what's going on is that I think that they've started stating that you can use up to 15% urea and still call it natural. Because that's all because of fucking Omri. Those fucking pirates, they did the same fucking thing that Whole Foods did. All of a sudden, you could have, it's less than 50%, or I think they started with 15 or 20% non-organics inputs, and it can still be called organic. And then they pushed that to 49% inorganic inputs, but you could still call the produce organic.
Here's
and then
one more thing too.
Who's checking, right? Who's checking? Nobody's checking.
Here's one more thing you're going to find really super. So I used to be a consultant for the chemical companies. I was a consultant for this. It's called Pest Control Magazine, right? So now there's a law that they pass. I don't know who passes these laws that you can say you're an organic company if you just have one product as part of your assortment that's organic. The rest of it could be totally chemical, but because you have one product, you can use the word organic on your in your sales pitch and everything.
Dude, I ran into that fucking 10 years ago. I'd have clients and I'd say, "Hey, look, I've treated this with biology. Whatever you do not let your landscaper put any synthetics down whatsoever, or you're going to destroy the 9 months and the hundreds of thousands of dollars that you just paid me to create this paradise."
Yep.
In rolls the truck, organic on the side. 5 guys jump out with backpack sprayers. I'm like, "What are you guys doing? Right. You don't need to spray nothing." And they're fucking spraying everything. "Oh, there's a couple mushrooms popping up." I'm like, "That's a good thing."
Exactly right.
We're using fungicides. I'm like,
Exactly right. That's why when I first started doing this, the same thing happened. The guy says, "They're worms. I'm spraying something to get rid of the worms." I go, "Yeah, really?" And "Well, they're mushrooms. I'm getting spraying something to get rid of the mushrooms." And he wants to be organic.
It's insane.
And so I started. So what I did was I forced the customers to say, "Okay, this is the way it's going to work. I will take over the fertilization. I will take over the pest control. Your gardener, the only thing he's going to do is keep up with the growth. You're not going to hire any pest control company, natural or otherwise, to come and do anything to your property. I make them sign the form for that. And I found gardeners constantly are bringing their own fertilizers. Oh, I'm going to do this because it needs this. I said, what is that you're using? And it's a chemical fertilizer. I take a picture, I send it to the owner. It says, so if you want me to continue, you're going to have to either get rid of the gardeners or tell the gardeners they can't do that. One lady that I gave you the number to, she's gone through 5 gardeners already.
Really?
Stash the stuff and they use it. You know, and they get stuff that's pure chemical. You can see that it's a chemical. It says there. It says it's fertilizer and everything. But we have to use the fertilizer because that's what gardeners do. And I says, no. And even to the, I gotta really push it on them. And now they buy crap for compost. And I go, that doesn't work either. Oh, it's cheaper. Yeah, it's cheaper because there's nothing in there. The city will give the stuff away from the sewer sludge. They call it biosolids now.
Yep.
They can't call it sewer sludge anymore. People say, oh, I don't want it. Oh, biosolids. Yeah, we'll take it. And on top of that, what's even worse about the pest control company, name it Mother Earth. People think it's organic, and it's not. Name it anything green. Green Earth. You would think, right? It has to be. No, it's not. And even and on another level, chemical companies are buying out organic fertilizer companies, taking over them, continuing to put their chemicals into the
into it.
And they sell it. And on top of that, it doesn't even have to be on the label. It says, look at our website for specifics.
And then you have to look in the fine print to find the specifics, which you can't find anywhere.
Right. And it's like, oh, yeah. So I was buying this one organic fertilizer for centuries. Really good. It was made from seaweed. But I always look at the ingredients. I always, out of habit, let's see. Oh, sure enough. It says, look at our website for ingredients. It turns out that this chemical company had bought that company, didn't change the label, didn't do a thing except add their product to it.
Mm-hmm.
I complained to them. I said, I should sue you. And you can't really sue them because it said, look to our website for the product, for the ingredients. Not our fault you don't have internet access. You can't find the fine words, the fine print. It's getting worse. It's really, really super getting worse because every chemical company that I know of wants to buy. They have to
buy their competition. They don't want any competition.
Miracle-Gro is not organic.
Oh, dude, I'm telling you, because of the fucking COVID reset, everybody's looking at organic and regenerative. They've all were trapped for a year in their fucking house, and they were all questioning who they were and what they were about, and went, "Oh God, I'm eating crappy food. I have no life. I work sun up."
And they go out and buy the same crap. That's just they think it's organic and it's not. And then they wonder what's happening. I get calls from people all the time. I just bought this, and what's wrong? I said, well, it's not organic. You should read the fine print. You should call the company up and say, I'm going to sue you. But you take one of these companies to court and see what happens.
Dude, they have corporate lawyers,
right? They got sued for $40 million, and they're still selling it.
Yeah, and they probably haven't even paid the settlement yet. It's probably being fought by their corporate lawyers. Because face it, they hire these lawyers out of fucking law school, $150 grand a year. The kid thinks he's got a great job, and then they got to find something to do with this motherfucker. So all he does is push paper and push paper and push paper. You can't afford to keep up with a motherfucker, right? So forget suing anybody. It doesn't work. The only one that wins in a lawsuit is the fucking lawyer.
Here's another one since we're talking about genetically modified organisms.
Oh,
so in 1970, I started yelling about genetically modified organisms. 1970, I was yelling about it. I said, there's something wrong with the system. There's something wrong with this. I said, first of all, genetically modified, it's a good thing if it's in the hands of scientists that work for the benefit of mankind, not work for the benefit of a corporation.
Correct.
Right? So this corporation said, we're going to put Roundup in the seeds, and they went to court and they said, it's all safe because it's in the genes. It's never going to get to your body or the environment or any of that stuff. And they knew otherwise. I had my show, the guy who was a tester. His job was so they were doing modified lawns. It was in the middle of Colorado, nobody around. His job was to go like a circle, 20 miles out, 40 miles, 100 miles out, and test the plants, the native plants around there, and see if it had the genetic seed. And he stopped at 500 miles because they still had it.
Yep, it's everywhere.
It still has. So they passed a law that says you cannot have an organic farm if the first 10 rows cannot be certified organic. Only the smaller stuff inside. Yeah, like that's going to be cool. That's going to work. And so genetic, and one of the things that happened too is that somebody took them to court, and a lawyer. I love lawyers. The lawyer says genetically modified organisms are perfectly natural. Look at a tomato. Look at any farmer. They will take a tomato. You like that tomato? They will keep growing that. That's genetically modified. So it's totally safe. So it's genetically modified is broken into three categories. Genetically engineered organisms is what we have to be careful with. That's not natural. You can't take a gene from a sheep or goat and put it in the seed. You can't take a chemical and put it in the genes. That's genetic. That's genetically engineered. That's the one we have to watch out for. They were actually going to say, okay, we're going to take food and expose it to radiation. Radiation is natural, therefore, it's a natural product. And they couldn't get away with that.
They've been doing it for years, dude. Irradiating things.
Yeah, I know. Maybe I haven't keep you up, but at that time they couldn't get with it. I'm pretty sure they're doing it now.
Oh hell yeah, they're doing it.
And then there's ordinary genetically modified organisms that anything. I myself, when I grow a tomato, I like that taste of it. Or my marijuana seed, I like that. I would take that same seed and regrow it again, and regrow it again, and regrow it again. Human beings are genetically modified organisms. We're not the same thing as our parents. See?
No. Well,
it's all the terminology that we're getting into, and it's like we're going down the wrong road here. Because United States and other governments should say, we want control of the genetic modifiers. We want to make, because right now, because of climate change and other stuff, you can't grow corn fast enough to adapt to the climate change. But you can modify the corn. So what happened? One of the things that happened was the first thing they did was they went to Africa and they said, we're going to give you all these corn. We're going to give you the seed of corn. You can grow, and they grew it. They had thousands and millions of acres of corn, right? The genetically modified, the insect says, I don't know what that is because they hadn't had corn there in a long time, but it was totally zero nutrition. The doctor said, I don't know what you guys are eating. You're eating all this corn, but you're malnutrition. On top of that, you have to buy the seeds because it doesn't produce seeds. So the second year, say, we want more corn. No, you have to buy the seeds from us.
Yep, it's a game. It's just like fucking drugs, like heroin.
Almost everywhere in the world, they banned it except for the United States and certain other third world countries that says you have to have it. And right now, another thing that's happening is really, really interesting. This war in Russia. Russia is the #1 producer of chemical products that are made that go into chemical fertilizers. So now they can't do that anymore at the moment. China's upset. All these third world countries say, we're going to die if we don't get these chemical fertilizers. We're not going to be able to feed ourselves. That's the perfect time to say, you guys can go bye-bye. We have animals. We have everything we need to be sustainable. What's the problem?
Yeah, I know. And you know what? I don't even want to go there with the fertilizer companies, but last year, because of the Ukrainian war, skyrocketed all of the fertilizers. And then this year, they're selling them less than they did 3 or 4 years ago because we know that it's a game. And that if they kept that price that high, other farmers would have started looking at other alternatives because they can't afford to fucking grow the corn.
Farmers are doing it now. Farmers are going, look, I've been on this piece of land for like 100 years and it's getting worse and worse. I have to put more and more into it. I'm getting less and less. So I saw a study once that said we took 10 acres and we decided that people would starve if they were to go organically. And so I said, you obviously didn't get the right person growing, because if it was me, my 10 acres would be sustainable. It means it would produce more and more and more with less than producing so much food you wouldn't know what to do with it. So they got people, they didn't know what they were doing to say, yeah, we're all going to starve because you have to have the organic system is not going to feed the world.
And I'm telling you right now, 1 acre will feed a fucking neighborhood, right? A fucking neighborhood.
Right.
So,
my yard alone, we took care of the neighbors, the next door neighbor, the neighbor over there, the neighbor over here. I had so much food, it was ridiculous. And I wasn't using any chemical fertilizers at all. I learned really early. I told you about Herbal, the guy who was selling rock dust. Yep. And it's actually called Fertrail. I remember it now. It's called Fertrail. It's a blend of different types of rocks with green sand, and it had different minerals in it. It was really, really cool. And you actually, that's why it's called sustainable. You grow more and more because everything functions really, really well, and you have so much food, right? You know what I mean? And
well, I'll correct you on the word sustainable. It's not sustainable, it's regenerative. Because like you said, it keeps going and going and going, and the inputs.
What's wrong with sustainable? It's sustainable means it sustains the stuff. That's why.
Well, yeah, but you're getting better and better, so you're actually regenerative. Sustainable means that you're at the same place that you start. That means you need to have the same inputs, and you only produce the same amount. So,
no,
yeah, and again, this is a word that was misused for years.
It actually gets better and better, right? It gets better and better and better.
It's regenerative, and that's what Mother Earth will do if we stop.
Did you ever read the book Secrets of the Soil?
No, but have you read the book fucking What a Tree Knows?
A Tree Knows?
Yeah, that was a good one. And then there's another one, Plants Talk, or How Plants
Secret Life of Plants.
Life of Plants, yes.
Yeah, I know the people. And what's weird is that I said, so you didn't put me in your book? You didn't put me in your book? And you sent me a copy. You need to read this. I said, yeah, it's a wonderful book, but you didn't put me in your book? Because he had a bunch of people in there that were doing really cool stuff. And I was doing really cool stuff at that time, too. You would love Acres USA because it's they did my first book, How Do You Heal the Earth in Your Spare Time. That was in 1970. And these farmers are so far ahead of everybody else. So far ahead in terms of soil microbe biology in the soil, how to deal with it on a larger farm setup. The only thing I don't like about them is they're taking advantage of being organic, and they're charging a lot more than they should. Because if it's regenerative, it's costing less and less to produce. So why are you charging more and more?
Right. Well, that's money again.
I know, but still, it makes it harder. When I go to buy organic, it costs me 4 times as much than the other stuff. Right? You know what I mean? I take a refractometer with me, and I give a little lesson to the grocery guy. I said, which would you buy? Look in there. Which would you buy? Oh, I get the one with a higher number. That's the one.
Yeah, you're smart.
Yeah, that's the one, right? And my mother used to do that all the time. She says, nibble on it, and the grocer says, fine, right? Here's a slice, right? And I know if I told you, but I used to do a pendulum to try to figure out if it was any good. No, the refractometer is it. I got four refractometers. One costs $10,000. One costs $25,000. They all gave me the same reading.
Nice. Another thing too is we had a guy on the show. We're gonna have a guy on the show, Dan Kittredge, who had done some amazing work with creating a meter similar to a refractometer, but it was one step or a whole nother level of information.
Oh, really? What's that? Wow. Tell me.
Yeah. You'll have to get Ken. Send Andy a link.
Ken's asleep, man. Don't wake him up.
Yeah, that's all right.
I never sleep. Okay. I'm the Oz behind the curtain, and I'll send Andy a link to his website. Would you like me to bring it up?
Yeah, sure. Why don't you bring it up? I mean, I was so impressed when I met this man. I met this man, Andy. I met this man about 12 years ago, maybe more, maybe 15 now, at a conference in Western Massachusetts, and he started talking about the fact that the nutrition in our plants had just dropped to all-time lows because of all the introduction of pesticides, fertilizers, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. And he was creating this meter that you could go into the grocery store and shoot a piece of produce, and it would tell you what the value was.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, so this is what he invented. And
send me a link and email it to me.
Yeah, he will.
I will.
Does it break it down to more minerals so you can tell what minerals are in it?
It does it all. All right. It's your dream come true.
When were you going to tell me this?
Well, dude, the problem is he never manufactured it.
Oh, he didn't.
No, he finally did was he open sourced it, and he'll let anybody manufacture it, but nobody's fucking manufacturing it. So again, it was like, dude, you took it so far, and then you didn't stay focused, and he's gone off.
I think maybe he got paid off.
I don't think so. He got all metaphysical. Like he went down the Buddhist journey. So I mean, he's very, very tough guy. But unfortunately,
he got $40 million, and now he's a happy Buddhist.
Well, I don't think so, dude. I think there's a lot of other shit going on in his life that complicates things.
I like the refractometer. The only thing I didn't like about it is you can't separate the different elements in there. You can't tell what's going on.
Right. Yeah. This one does. This one separates it down to minerals.
Nobody's made it. Nobody's made it. So
apparently some people have made it, but you can't buy it. It's like there's a waiting list to get them because nobody jumped on with a large-scale manufacturing facility because, Andy, they don't want us to have it. If everybody in America had this tool, we wouldn't buy anything in the grocery store. We'd only buy it at the farmer's market.
Yeah. And on top of that, while you're growing, you say, this is working because look, and I could go to my customers and do the same thing on their trees, on their roses, on their flowers. It's all the same thing. On their lawns, it's all the same thing. Look at this lawn compared to this lawn. Look at this tree compared to that. I started doing it on trees a long, long time ago.
Yep.
And you have to learn. There's a different time of year that they're different.
They're all different, right?
Right.
And cool. Just as it's different in the soil. But listen, we're getting close to the end. I see that there's at least one question. Okay. Let's go ahead and get Ken to pull up that question and let's get it answered.
Taking a spore print at the moment, been on about 14 hours now. How long do you normally leave them? I'm not sure if either of you guys know.
So he's doing a spore extraction on a mushroom.
Yeah.
So it would depend on temperature and humidity, dude. If you're in a dry environment, it's probably going to happen a little bit quicker. In a wet environment, it's going to take longer for those spores to release. So that's a very difficult question to answer.
So the thing to do is key into humidity. Too much, too little. So you get to learn what your proper humidity is. So when I go to shrooms, I always have it at a certain. I have a little humidity gauge that's hooked into a little tiny little fan, and actually. I put water in it and the water evaporates and it circulates and it actually missed it to keep it at a certain. So too much, they go bad. Not enough, they dry out.
But that's for growing. He's doing a spore extraction. So
he's doing a spore print.
So when you have a spore print, you lay it down on the paper. You have to have if it's too dry, it'll dry out too fast. If it's too wet, it'll do the same thing.
Exactly. You won't get the spores. So that's exactly what I was trying to say.
So it's not the length of time, it's the quality of time it's in there. To produce
and the environment in which it's in. If it's if it's a dark room versus sunlight versus humidity versus temperature. I mean, it all is important.
And it could be contaminated. It may not spore at all.
Yep. So
are you growing it on agar or how are you growing it?
Well, it would just be the cap. So he's taking the cap. The gills have hopefully opened. Like he knew enough to wait till they were opening. Pluck it and then try to do the print, but it's complicated. It's not for the lighthearted. For sure.
Growing shrooms, you have to be a little bit of scientific. You have to have some brains because you can't just grow it in the bathroom, or in the closet. See, that doesn't quite work, and you're going to end up with something else. Something else will start growing. Go, what is that, right? Or if it starts talking to you, you go, well, I think I did the wrong thing, right?
Yep. Exactly.
So guys, I've been putting the captain too hard on my arm, but I don't want to cut it short and they speculate for a couple of days. Well, that's right. He has it. He has it together there.
He's trying.
Range of audience. You have quite a range of audience. So we have.
And we've got audience from all over the world, Andy. We've got people on from the UK, from the US, from Canada. The Philippines, all over the world.
Thank you for the video IQ.
Oh, vidIQ, yes.
VidIQ. I started using that. Really, really cool.
John's from Australia too, so there's two. There's Jeff and John.
I would love to go to Australia sometime. I'm actually thinking of moving to Bali, but there's one problem with Bali.
What's that?
It's major earthquake, major volcano going on over there. It's just, everything's one big volcano to take off all the islands, and they're waiting for that.
And I think cannabis is illegal over there too.
illegal, right? You can't do anything with it. Or a bunch of other stuffs are illegal too. You know, they don't want it because it's too liberating on the public. The public will start going, "What the hell's going on here?" Right? You know, the rent. My friend is there. He pays $500 a year for rent.
Oh my God!
5-bedroom house, living in a nice jungle environment. You know, I would go. It sounds very cool, except for that one little minor problem. There's a couple other minor problems.
Just a little one.
Yeah, a little problem.
Hey, you guys, listen to this. I don't know if it's for real or not, but somebody hit me up and said that they asked, or they had a video that dude asked Siri, when was the next major earthquake going to be in California? And Siri comes back and says August 5th, 2025, 9.5 on the San Andreas Fault. So I want you guys to try it because I don't have a Siri. But if anyone out there has a Siri, you ask Siri that, and if she comes back and says that shit, Andy, we gotta pay attention, man. just get fucking east of the San Andreas.
I've been paying attention in the sense that I've been watching how the faults are working and what's going on with the faults. At the same time, I've been keeping a close eye on the
volcanoes.
Oh, Faithful, you know, where is that? The park.
Yellowstone National Park. Yeah, super volcano.
I've been keeping a really close eye on that one because that's also part of what's going on too. And at the same time, they're all connected. Every one of them is connected. Something's going on down there, and it has to do with the heat, the temperature rising of the Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if the super goes off, California will probably be okay. And the reason why is the wind goes west to east. So everything that side of that volcano is fucked. Now, if she goes full on nuclear, then yeah, California's gone too. But if she just pops her cork and lets off a little steam,
she's not going to pop the cork. She's going to go full nuclear. She hasn't done that in a long time. The last time she did that, it was covered 3/4 of the United States.
Well, 3/4 of the Earth or the world got cooled off,
and the world got it too. So it's something going on. Same thing connected to Hawaii. The same thing is connected to the other side where we were talking about Bali.
Yeah, the Pacific Rim.
These are now the Ring of Fire is not happening in the center of the United States, but they are connected. They are connected, and something's going to happen, and it's going to be what they're saying is that California is going to just drop off. A certain place is just going to drop off, and won't be any more. There'll be a new shoreline.
Yeah, right. But we get to see the tsunami. Like we get to go down to the beach and fucking watch this thing suck out and come back in.
Hey, that's really cool. Say, hey,
bend over and kiss your butt goodbye because that's it. You're done. But there's more than that. There in Yellowstone, there's like several super volcanoes around the world. Some are underwater. You look at what happened in Tonga.
I know.
There's a lot of shit going on out there, and a lot of it has to do with the energetic flows of our planet and the ley lines. It's not just the faults, but actually California's got a couple of volcanoes I think you guys are going to need to worry about before you have to worry about the big one wiping the coast off.
In Africa, part of it is splitting.
Yes. Yeah. Well, it's the tectonic plates.
Yeah,
been going on for millions and millions of years.
They could see it splitting. And so houses that were there, all kinds of stuff, it just started slowly move out like that. So it's moving already. And these are normal things that happen, but we had managed to speed the whole thing up. We speed it up because we never gotten this hot so fast.
Well, that and the fact that DARPA's made some pretty crazy fucking crazy weapons that we won't even talk about. But anyway.
Okay, so I guess we're going now, right? We got 2 seconds.
We got 50 seconds or a little bit less left. But Andy, thank you so much for your time, brother.
Thank you.
Let's get together for lunch like we tried last week.
Yeah, let's try to do that again. Okay.
Yeah, let's try to do it again. Bouncing around like a banshee right now, but that's all right. If you got some time, like on Thursday afternoon, just let me know and we'll get together.
It's Thursday afternoons.
Yeah, is that Thursday around noon? Does that work for you?
Thursday is the day I go out and work, so I do.
Oh, all right. What day works?
Well, I'm open Fridays and Wednesdays afternoon, and of course Saturdays and Sundays I'm also.
Wednesday, you got to consider we're on a show every Wednesday now, bro. Okay.
Now I got something going on at 6 on Wednesdays.
Yeah, that's 6 p.m. right?
Yes.
So, Andy, I'll ping you about Wednesday or Friday, and we'll figure it out from there.
You can do Wednesday or 2, something like that, but we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. And Ken, thank you so much as always for doing the back office stuff and being Oz. Really appreciate it.
Send me a link so I can repost them too, okay? Of both shows I'm on.
Yeah, I will do so. And I'll send you the stuff for Dan Kittredge. But guys, Wednesday with Andy, it's a brand new series that we're starting. So of course it's all on this channel. But check that out. And let me just go through the list of guests we have coming up quickly. Gerald Pollock is next week. That's the Master of Water. Then we've got the Grow Up Conference the week after that. Then we've got James White, or Dr. James White. Then we've got Dennis Meehan, who's going to be talking about water again. We've got Kayla, the cannabis nurse, coming up. She's finished her course. It's legal in Canada for nurses to take a course on the endocannabinoid system now. And then on the 26th of June, Dr. Elaine Ingham has rebooked for that date. So
nice. Can I say martial artist, I'm sorry, dude. I'm in California now. Andy's in California. He lives in the same area in Ventura County. So we're not having lunch in northern Connecticut.
You were saying something, Andy?
Oh, I just want to mention invisiblegardener.com.
Yes, and I'll bring that up. And the music that is on our new show, Andy wrote the music that is the part of the intro for the new show. He's got quite the repertoire, guys. So check him out on SoundCloud. And as he says, use your ear headphones because there's different frequencies on each side. He's done some amazing things with sound, guys. So
yeah, it's called binaural.
Yeah,
and that teaches your pineal gland again to function because most people are not connected. Left brain and right brain are not connected. This reconnects them again because it's the pineal gland that connects it. So if the pineal gets one tone, gets another tone, it says, okay, I'm going to have to manage this. But if we listen to both ears at the same time, it just goes in, goes out, nothing happens.
All right.
And with that,
hang on.
We're going to end the broadcast. One more? Okay, go ahead.
1 second. Diggity dang. Yes, aluminum is part of what they're using in chemtrails. Yes, it's a problem because it's bioavailable. Regular aluminum in the ore form is not harmful nor toxic, but aluminum at low pH, which is what's happening in your stomach, is very toxic. So yeah, we're all fucked. On that, go ahead and end it.
We got to rely on the biology. Keep your biology strong, and the biology can do wondrous things. Remember that. All right, guys.